Just Dina Ingram here for those who don't know me. But what I do is I'm a life coach. I help women find their self-worth, their self-value. I help them love themselves again so they can be the women that they were destined to be and then ultimately pursue their dreams and goals. And so a lot of people don't know the struggles that I really went to become the woman that I am today. And I remember the day where I remember the day when I had just finally felt tired. And I remember writing this letter, typing this letter, finally, with the intentions of finally freeing myself. And I remember typing this letter up. I was at work, just randomly in a day, typing this letter up to my parents. And this letter was just something that was long overdue. This letter was finally revealing to my parents of all the things I went through as a child. And as I typed that letter, I was so fearful. I was already breathing heavily at my desk typing this letter. But in the letter, I pretty much told them everything that had happened to me during the years of me being molested. And I didn't know what to expect, but I just knew I had to get this out of my system, because prior to that letter, I had spent many years of just being so sad inside, so down inside. And so I was masked. I was always this happy person and always this go-getter trying to just overachieve and do so many things in life. I went left and right so many times. I had got into the worst situations ever that you could even imagine, and I couldn't figure out why I ended up there, because I had a great upbringing, but I just had something that was unfortunate happen to me. And so I wrote the letter, and I remember calling my mom and telling her, I got to talk to you. And she's like, what is it? At the time I was in between moving apartments. And so she was under the impression that I wanted to move back home. But she just really didn't know what was in store. And so I remember driving there, and I remember calling one of my best friends and telling her, hey, I'm about to do it. I'm about to tell them. And so I remember just driving there. And then when I finally come in, I sit on the couch, and my mom and my dad just facing me, and my heart beating fast. And so I read them the letter, and I just remember seeing their reactions during it. It tore me up inside, but I just knew I had to do this. And so I read it. When I was done, it was just an unimaginable event. My mom they both welcomed my vulnerability, and they welcomed the truth, and they didn't judge me. They didn't allow me to feel like I was wrong for waiting so long. They were angry, they were hurt, but they were there for me in the most supportive way. And I just remember, telling them, like, this is something that I already just handled myself, but I just needed you to know, because I needed to be free. The only way I was going to be free ultimately is letting the people who raised me and instilled all of this good in my life know that anything that happened was not your fault. And I don't like to. You just have to be free. You have to let somebody know, somebody with high impact in your life, know what you went through. You can't stay hidden. I couldn't stay hiding. So I just remember telling them, and then them understanding that this was my fight. As much as they wanted to step in and do so much, this was my fight, and I overcame this. It wasn't with the help of anybody but myself, but they understood that this was something that I had overcome, and they accepted that. But I remember leaving the house and just feeling free. I remember feeling all, and I say this with so sincerity because I feel it. I remember feeling everything lifted off of me. And ever since then, like, life for me was invincible. And I just really just took steps to unimaginable places. So I say all this to say that in order for you to be who you need to be, you have to go back and face the things that you've, kept inside for the longest, that you were fearful of, because that stuff will ultimately, it will destroy you internally and sometimes externally. You have to take charge in your life and do things sometimes that are uncomfortable, that might make or break you, but it's all for your growth. And so I knew that, and I wanted to share that with women, because I know there are women who are like me, who had deep rooted issues lying inside, and in person just happy and being successful and thriving and having all these friends, but you're hurting inside. You're dead inside. You feel confined. And I wanted to help women who felt that way, and let them know that this is something that you have to work through. And it's the main reason why I became a life coach, because I did the work for me to get out of that. Now, it took me to hit rock bottom and get in certain situations. I've gotten in the worst situations that sometimes I reflect now, like, how could I have even been in a situation like that? I've been with men in my life who probably mistreated me, and I didn't know I allowed that, because at the time, way years ago, I wanted that validation, because who was I after after being in a situation that I did as a child? I lost my identity. I didn't know how I should allow myself to be treated when I had went through something like that. I allowed men to define me. I allowed men to mistreat me. I wanted approval. I allowed myself to be in domestic situations. I've allowed myself to rely on certain things to numb out what I was feeling inside. I went through spirals. I was angry. I was projecting on people. I hated people. I made people feel what I felt inside. And I no longer wanted to feel that way. So that's why I freed myself. And I don't want any other woman to feel that way. And I want them to free themselves as well. And so that's why I got into what I'm doing right now. So ultimately, there is light. There is light. At the time, you don't see it. At the time, you don't feel it. But there is light. You don't have to allow yourself to hit rock bottom like I did. I was in situations that most women probably wouldn't have been able to come back from. But that's why I want to be that person that prevents women to go through any of that, because you don't have to. I was by myself. I was alone. I needed the help. I needed all of that, but I did it myself. I just knew that it was something that wasn't what I needed to do any much longer in my life. I didn't need to suffer. I didn't need to suffer anymore. I wanted better. And ever since I freed myself, I became this invincible woman that you see before you, fearful. I'll take on anything. I'm secure in myself. I love myself. I know my worth. I know how I should be treated. I know what I want. I know what I deserve. I know who I am. I can't emphasize this enough. I love me. And so I inspire women every day, and I empower women every day. And from my heart, I would love to help women be where I'm at. And this is just something that I really wanted to share, because I've had my struggles. I was never always this way. And everyone has their struggles, but you don't have to stay there. And so I appreciate you taking the time out to hear a couple of mine and to know where I've come from, so you could see how I was able to get to where I'm at. And if you like this video, share so it could touch somebody or help somebody. And thank you so much.